Hello and good afternoon, good morning, in some places, good evening. Welcome to the sixth annual Boom's Birthday Bash. That's right, we do this every year to not only celebrate my day, which was obviously the beginning of the week, but we're here to celebrate you as people that come in and they watch the shows and you hit the like button and you subscribe and you drop super chats and of course your channel members, and all of that equates to us, meaning me, Mrs. Boom, are able to afford to do these big giveaways. And today's special breakfast with Boom, we are giving away 10 $50 gift cards. Now, just for clarification, the first five will go and be drawn from actual channel members who support the channel on a monthly basis. And then the last five, the other five, will go to people that are here in the chat. Again, it's a fair way of not only us supporting the people that support us, but of course, we want to give everyone a chance to win, which is why we split it 5 and 5. Um, we have a monster panel. We have a ton of big topics. I mean, Jim Ryan resigns. Everyone is like calling for why did he resign? Well, I know why he resigned, because he embarrassed Sony proper. And obviously, there are some ramifications for the lying that he did around the world to not only regulators, but of course, while he was on the stand and lying under oath. There is something to be said about Sony's ideology and direction of the company, wanting to go into the GAAS game service. And folks, I'm here to tell you the numbers that are coming in from Microsoft's GAAS games, and when you couple the potential of COD being a part of that, Overwatch 2 being a part of that, and of course, Candy Crush. Folks, we're going to get into it, but I'm here to tell you that the next round of acquisitions, whether that be developers, studios, or even publishers, are going to come, pause, by the way of all of this extra money coming in. And it's something to be said. And folks, look, after ABK is done, and it should be done by the Friday of the 16th, we know that it's going to be open season for Microsoft to continue potentially purchasing other studios. Now, we all have our short lists. We'll get into it. But we have a lot of topics to get into. Max Payne 1 and 2 being remade by Rockstar and Remedy. And my God, it looks really good. And of course, we're going to talk about the Jim Ryan situation. I didn't get a chance to speak to everyone on the panel here and get their raw takes, and we will do that here on the air, as well as live drawing 10 winners. Let's start first with our very special guest, one of the best voices in the business, could play Master Chief without a doubt. Silent Cypher, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, Boom. Thanks for having me. Dude, I'm stoked. It's been one heck of a one heck of a month so far, right? All the game releases, all the news coming out. It has been quite a start to the holiday season going into fall. But yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I'm excited to talk about this stuff today. It's getting spicy out there on those streets real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple of spaces where they were titled "Please, Jim, don't go," and I nearly peed my pants in laughter because I'm like, my God, I mean, what are we doing here, folks? He's gone. He's gone, but he didn't leave on his own accord. People could say whatever they want. I don't believe it, but we'll get into that. Dreadpool here on basically no sleep. He is all fired up. How you feeling, Dread? Welcome back.
Woo! Good morning, everyone. I am high on coffee. And I am not retiring. I am not resigning. I am not fired. I am here, unlike Jim. Oh, yeah. Spiciness is here today. So, no, I'm happy to be here. So glad to be back. Just, again, work is work, and we got to do what we got to do. And I've had so much that I've wanted to say to y'all, but I haven't been able to. But so today's basically a little bit of catch-up day.
catch up day, as well as you're gonna break the faucet off and just be like, and it's just gonna just pour out. And we're here for it, brother. It's great to have you here. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. Hopefully, you had some decent breakfast. And we're gonna get ready to go.
Just a Snickers.
Oh wow. Well, then you're on sugar rush, so I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna get raw Dreadpool, which we all know and love. Crispy Bomb, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
You know, I've been looking at the gaming sphere as a whole right now, and it's a hot mess. I'm just saying, and it's nice to see that Xbox seems to have found its niche, and I see big things in the next few years. But there's another side of it that says, "Hey, Jim, I say good riddance," but we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we're gonna get your hot take, and you and I have yet to converse on this shocking news. Obviously, we have a quote from Phil Spencer, which of course Phil does what Phil does, and we'll get a couple other quotes there as well. Again, shocking news, but Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Man, we thought last couple of weeks were interesting news weeks. This this one's going to top it off. But man, just some of my predictions actually came true, just a lot sooner than I expected. But glad to be here. We're going to get into it. So much to talk about. So let's do
Yeah,
this.
there is a lot to get into. And folks, before we actually get into it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the hashtag that if you want a chance at winning one of these $50 gift cards, you need to write verbatim. Literally, what I'm writing here, you need to put into the chat. And when we get through the first topic, I will draw the first 5 winners. Then midway through the end of the show, I will draw the final 5 winners. And what we're giving away is a $50 gift card to your choice of platform, whether that be for PSN, Xbox, or Nintendo eShop. You let me know. You get me a way to get that code to you via email, via DM, via however social media platform. I'll figure it out. And if you are a winner and you are outside of the country, and obviously those codes don't work, I can get the codes here for that $50 gift card. We will send you the $50 via PayPal only. No cash apps, no backdoor deals, no checks. If you win and you want to claim your prize, the only way that we will honor that prize outside of the country is through PayPal, because it protects us. So that's the way it's going to work. And like I said, we're going to open this right up to Jim Ryan's removal. And I definitely want to start first with Silent Cypher, who's our special guest today. This is and was shocking news. And I think that when you consider that the day that this was announced, which was announced here at 6:15 in the evening on New York time, 3:15 in the afternoon for the West Coast, very late in the day. And I think why it's more so than just a simple bow out, I'm going to retire. The traveling is too much for me. I'm going to Tokyo, and I'm going to Europe, and I'm flying to California. And again, that might actually be a part of it for sure. But when you consider, Silent, that this the position that Jim Ryan held he's not being replaced even temporarily by somebody in SIE. He is being replaced by Hideki Totoki of Sony proper. And that is a big deal. Now, there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days of whether or not it was a failure of leadership. Some people will say yes, some people will say no. I listened to Mav and Pong in PM in the PM. I listened to Mav's stream the day after, and a lot of what they had to say made a lot of sense in regards to some of the decisions that, or late in the game decisions that may not have been what Sony of Japan wanted the future of PlayStation to look like. There is no roadmap past Spider-Man and Wolverine. Spider-Man is going to be amazing. It is going to be a very well sold game. Wolverine is probably holiday of 2025. But outside of third party exclusive deals that they have locked up with Square Enix, we know nothing. And if there's one thing that we can say with full honesty here, folks, is the fact that when Sony has it, they will flaunt it. And all you have to do is look back to 2016, the year of dreams, where they said, check it out. This is what we have coming in the next 5 to 7 years. And what did everyone do? They all freaked out and they all went out and bought a PlayStation 4. The reason why we don't have that roadmap, folks, is because Jim Ryan told you that he has taken his first party studios and he has put them on what appears to be 12 different GAAS games. And that is a serviceable game that does make a lot of money, but you got to have a game that people want to play. And unfortunately, there's a good shot that 10 of those 12 will fail. As a matter of fact, they canceled a few of them. Let's get your hot take on why you think Jim Ryan stepped down.
So I think it's probably a combination of things, right? Because you can't, I feel like you can't really point it towards one specific thing. Like the things that he did with this whole FTC case, do I think some of that had effect? Yes. The fact that he's been there for 30 years, I think that also has an effect. I'm sure there probably is some travel exhaustion. Like I look back at some of my previous jobs where I was traveling all over the place, and I could get that narrative. But that being said, with everything else that's going on right now, I don't think you can really rule those things out as helping factors for the overall decision, right? You look at something like, okay, they lost the FTC case that they were trying to block. They proceeded to have another break in on their data. So we got another data hack.
And that's supposed to drop soon,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's coming right up too. So like we'll see if it was anything or if it's just literally some punks trying to, pull one over on them and get a bunch of money for schedules and calendars and stuff like that. Like who knows what this content will actually be that they've stolen. But either way, like whether it's just someone's personal schedule, whether it's the cleaning schedule for the buildings or something like that, anytime the data is leaked, that ruins that image. Like that ruins the image for the consumer. Because I've already talked to a bunch of people that were like, I've changed my passwords, I've removed my cards from PlayStation, so that way if anything happens, I don't have all this stuff out there as compromised, or there's a second factor authentication to make sure that these people can't just, order stuff on my cards. So I think there's too many things, right? Like he proceeded to throw Sony dev studios under the bus during the FTC ruling, stating, none of our studios could do anything against Call of Duty. If we lose Call of Duty, we're done, blah, blah, blah. He literally threw the family in front of the bus and said, no, none of our guys are talented enough to stand up to a Call of Duty. We couldn't do what Call of Duty does. If we lose them, we're over. So I feel like there's been a lot of things because he's been out there making comments that just being someone who's been the face of a company in the past, out there in the market, talking to people, having that conversation, those are not things the company wants you to be saying. That's not the type of stuff that they want you to be out there spreading. They want you to have confidence in what you're doing. And the fact that he basically brought a, boy crying wolf scenario to the courts about their situation was laughable, but also really embarrassing. And I would imagine Sony headquarters probably not very pleased with it also.
Well, can I just add some context and conjecture to what you're saying? Think about this for a second, folks. What Silent Cypher has just put down for us is perplexing. And I say that because Jim Ryan got out there and literally threw their entire first party studios under the bus and said what they do isn't good enough for us. Call of Duty not being there is going to ruin us. Think about that for a second. And this is a like a stink eye to all of the people that rah the first party games that actually don't buy them and play them. See, I rah them, and I have collector's statues left, right, and center, and I always, and I mean always, buy the deluxe edition, if not the collector's edition, for every Sony first party game. So when people say, "Oh, Boom, you're a bot, man," really? Because you can go look at my trophy list. It is available for everyone to see what I've played. But please continue.
Yeah, so and much like what you're saying, right? Like that was a very bad, like that's a black eye on the brand of it. And I mean, the thing is we saw it. We saw it out there on the internet. We saw how much people were trying to simp and cope for this. Like, no. Jim's our warrior. He's doing this stuff. He's doing this for the good of Sony. He's exactly the man we need in this moment. And all I could think is like, he's exactly the man that looks like he literally is trying to escape from like the senior citizens home. And he's speaking like just words of nonsense in these interviews. I'm just like, homie's been around for a while. So, I got to give him his credit. He's put in his time. But you look at the decisions that have come in over his time in reign, right? You look at the fact that they've got all those GAAS games that you mentioned, of which realistically maybe a quarter of those will actually survive long term. And it's a question of how much money are you going to pour into those before you even see a profit, if you see a profit. Like they're so far behind the 8 ball at this point compared to their competition when it comes to live service and games as a service, where the focus has always been, and we've always been told this, Boom. We've always been told that single player, third person, over the shoulder action adventures, AAA, quad A, like that's what we've been told is the thing for PlayStation. So you mean to tell me that all of a sudden all of the people that are on the Sony side care about games as a service and live games? Or was it posturing? Does it turn out that they're actually going to support these, or are they going to fall completely on their face once they release? That's the other question I'd have for you, is the decisions he's made in his time here make me worried that he's not reading the room, right? Like he's bringing these things in because he knows he needs to bring the money in, but he's not paying attention to what the consumers have said time and time again about their own box, which that's why I say, like, are we going to see these things come out and they're going to stand and be like, no, we don't want these? Or are they can suddenly, all of a sudden, games as a service and live service games will be the best thing since sliced bread for all those folks on that side?
It's interesting because, Microsoft, specifically Xbox, was clowned for Sea of Thieves. Right, they were clowned for Fallout 76. They were clowned for ESO. We got numbers here, folks, that I want to bring in for context. Now, anything else you want to add before we bring in someone else? Do you want to top this off? Cypher?
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to touch on is, Last of Us having their multiplayer separated from the re-release to then be released on its own, charging you $60-$70 full price for that, to then it getting shelved by Bungie. I think that whether Ryan had all the decision on this one or not, I think putting Bungie in charge of someone else's games as a service or live game, that's a very bad idea. Like, if you have anything that's anything, because literally they jumped in, they're like, no, this Last of Us stuff, not good enough for us. But hey, we got this game called Marathon coming. Like, it's literally them being like, yo, we don't want them to succeed, but yo, check out our Marathon. This is what the new hotness is. Like, I don't know how you can look at that situation. And I mean, maybe that multiplayer is in a horrible situation right now. but it feels like it was a really bad idea, especially in a time like now with so little out there to just kick this thing to the sideline. Like, if that came out this year, they would have at least had some more stuff to play. At this point, all it is Spider-Man. Like, how they tore Xbox a new one when 2022 came around, and they had no games. So now we're sitting here scratching our head wondering, like, Sony, what's your move?
Yep, that's a good point,
So-
dude. No, I mean it's a phenomenal point. And it's one that does come into a conversation that we're going to continue. And I do want to bring in Crispy Bomb here. Now, Crispy, I have some notes here, and you know, we're going to get into it because I want to get your hot take. But when you see Jim Ryan make what appeared to be a very sudden decision. Now, normally, how you retire, at least how I personally retired, was you give notice, you have a certain amount of time to be there, but while you're there, you're still doing your job up until your retirement date, whatever that is. Is it a month? Is it 2 months? Well, on paper, Jim Ryan is apparently leaving in March of 2024, which I'm no mathematician, folks. That's 6 more months, right? Because we're still in September. With that said, he is not in charge of SIE anymore, because that leadership and decision making has gone back to Sony proper, and that's effective October 1st. So he's there, and he's probably going to get paid until he retires.
Yep.
But he's not making any big boy decisions. See, that to me is what screams, folks, there's a problem here. What was your initial feeling, thoughts, and am I onto something?
You know, Boom, you might be onto something, because, you know, at first I was just looking at him like, I get it, but it's kind of at a time of turmoil for the company. So then you look at, you know, what has transpired in the past, I'd say 48 hours, you know, in between that and it really, I feel like it started with the Xbox leak, to be honest with you. I think that little point of, hey, revenue wise, Xbox is beating you. I think none of the board members at actual Sony realized what was actually transpiring until they saw that. Because, you know, internal documents from Microsoft are not easy to come by, I'm sure, for them. You know what I'm saying? So when they see that and they see, oh, wow, Microsoft is actually, you know, backing Xbox because they're making them money, that's not good. And we're not making what we thought we were making, because, you know, console sales are console sales. But what did we always say? They're taking a loss on those. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know this. Like, we know Xbox is probably taking a loss, at least on the Series X. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that and you say, well, shoot, you know, it really started to, you know, kind of tumble down, even though, you know, it was a Microsoft boo-boo. All of a sudden now Sony's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, I mean, let's bring context here. Is not the interim person, isn't he the CEO of the entire Sony group?
Yes, dude. He's the head dude at Sony.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring I want to bring context in here. See, that dude's got to sit in front of a board of investors, okay? And if he's under hot water, and as we always say, PlayStation proper is the bread and butter of Sony, is it not? So
Indeed,
this
it
dude's
is.
got to sit there after raking your consumers over the coals. And I get you got to make money. I understand that. But it's been like hit after hit after hit, and you haven't had a game come out that's at least legitimate. And then all you talk about is Spider-Man, but everybody else, the whole fandom is talking about Xbox. That's not good for your brand, man. You know what I mean? And you go and say GAAS games. Well, why don't you clarify? Because the way I look at a GAAS game is engagement. And it doesn't mean that they're going to rake you over the coals with microtransactions. That's what we've experienced, at least on Xbox. Yeah, you have the option, but you can also finish the game without doing it. You know what I'm saying? Xbox has done a lot of work and a lot of hard work to figure out the formula. And the other thing is if you look at Xbox, there's a lot of variety. This isn't just, one thing being one thing. The ideology of Minecraft turns into Grounded and other such games that, involve these elements, but are in a totally different retrospect. You have racing games that continue to just dominate. You know what I'm saying? That was Sony's bread and butter. Sony used to be good at making a multiplayer, single player game. They used to actually take that into consideration. They would bring you back with engagement and microtransactions. This is what Microsoft found out by still having that engaging campaign that people love, especially if you're a PlayStation fan, but also having that multiplayer element that might involve microtransactions, but also you find earnable content or whatever else. And it's almost like, hey, do I want to have a quick cheat code type thing? Because we all use cheat codes when we were kids, you know what I'm saying? And just buy it and say, screw it. Or do I want to earn it? And that's a choice up to you. And that's the formula that Microsoft really has at this point. You know what I mean? If you really look at it, yes, I mean, it could be lax at times, but when the community comes out, for a certain game and says, dude, this ain't good, it seems like eventually they say, okay, yeah, we're getting a little too crazy with this. Let's take a step back. Sony is just like falling on deaf ears if they have anything at this point. I mean, I couldn't believe that you come out with a remake and it had a multiplayer and then you don't bring it out with the game. It makes
then they
zero
charge
sense to me.
$70 for it, dude. They charged full boat for a game. Listen, we got, again, context, folks. The Last of Us 1 is an award-winning, well-deserved, incredible story. From start to finish, that game is a masterclass title. I don't care if you hate Sony, you gotta tip the Mohawk. I'm sorry. The opening segment, tears. The closing segment, tears. You don't get it, I hear you. But to charge $70 for a remake of a game that has now been remade multiple times, and then, of course, not even include an HD. I'm not asking you to remake the original one. Do an HD remake. Give us something in Factions to play. And they promised it 3 years ago, Crispy, and they still haven't delivered it. And guess what? Your newest acquisition tells the oldest dude in the room. That's like a rookie telling a senior guy, "Hey man, go pick up grandma down the block." You know what I'm saying? Like, go get us coffee, old man. That's what that's like. And for them to allow Bungie to step in and be like, "Nah, fam, yeah, kill that noise. That's not good enough." That's just crazy. Please continue.
And I just want to clarify that as well. You look at what has transpired in the past 2 years. Is Insomniac their only studio? I mean, that's
it
sometimes
certainly
what
seems
I feel
like it. They're the workhorse for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And they bring out superb variety. Do you look at the variety of games they bring out? It's pretty incredible. Okay, they are. I said this way back, and it was probably on this show that they are the greatest purchase they have ever made. And it is clear at this point. I mean, you're talking about Spider-Man, and then what do we know? Wolverine. Well, that's Insomniac too. I mean, you guys paying these guys enough or what? But I just want to, you to understand that what I'm saying about Jim is that when you have the actual CEO of the company come on the back end and there's no predecessor, there's no grooming, hey, I'm retiring in 2024. Hey, no announcement on who's going to be replacing, but we're looking at several candidates. And he would be a part of that process. I feel he has no say now. And
yeah,
I say good, because you've went to the extreme. I understand you didn't have this before, but you got to find that happy median, because your consumer, I'm not that consumer, by the way. I'm just saying your consumer has a certain expectation, and you have not met that expectation. And you have also raised prices across the board to your consumer. You have released, software, hardware, but more now hardware than anything, that is not compatible like Sony used to be. Sony, you would be able to use their products wherever you wanted. It was multifaceted. And you know, you have these earbuds, you have all these opportunities to make money if they use it on a different platform or something like that. And you squandered that. You know what I'm saying? And that was their choice. But when it comes down to it, he's the one in the hot seat. And then Sony said, enough's enough. Time to go, buddy. And that's what they did. And I'm sorry, like, you want to take the whole, yeah, maybe he's just like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to argue with this. I'm going to take my early retirement, because that's what it is. You're not 65, it's early retirement. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, dude. Like, it seems too abrupt. And you could tell me I'm just, you know, I'm crazy. Oh, you just don't like something. Jim needed to go. I'm going to be honest. I hope they find somebody. I don't think the CEO, I think the CEO is going to try to revert all the way back. And then we're going to see, you know, swinging, you know, on the seesaw, man, like, you know, boom, boom, hitting the ground. And it's like, can you stop? Can you level out here? Because I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a lot of layoffs, a lot of things that you don't want to see. Luckily, you know, there is a few gaming companies that are still doing good, but right now it's kind of a lot of turmoil. And I hope they just, you know, they're able to level out, find that right person for the job. But until then, I mean, it's going to be a lot of weird stuff going on in my eyes.
Yeah, there is they're in transition, folks. You got to understand something, and I'm going to bring Dreadpool into this, and the reason why I want to bring him next simply is because he occasionally takes his personal life and he uses it from his knowledge into the conversation when it comes to about business, and that's where I want to go next. Dreadpool, Jim Ryan set a plan. He looked into the future and he said, okay. And he said this, I don't know, maybe it was 3 years ago, maybe even 4 at this point. He told during an interview, looked straight faced at the camera and said, the PlayStation community is just not enough. So he saw that there was a change coming. Now, Microsoft has been ahead of this curve for quite some time, and people clowned them on it. Now, they're the Mad Hatter. They're laughing uncontrollably because they can have the last laugh. Sony, or Jim Ryan's PlayStation, might have set a path 4 years ago to deliver the 1 or 2 bangers of first party per year, and the rest are going to potentially be GAAS games, meaning they were going to use, or at least hopefully use, some of their IP and bring out a games as a service that we could all know, play, and love. Now, there are 3 titles that I it's a conundrum to me as a Sony fan, because you can call me a bot all you want, but I'm a Sony fan, and I've been a Sony fan since day one. One game that jumps off the page for me that just had a TV show, which was freaking awesome. Twisted Metal is the perfect GAAS game. Nowhere to be found. Okay. What about bringing back Resistance Fall of Man in the form of a multiplayer GAAS type of title? Dope. But again, that would be Insomniac, and you know they already have 19 fucking projects. So, sorry for the F-bomb. Okay, so you look at that, and to me, this is the no-brainer, Dread. No brainer. I am dying for this to come back in a big way, and I've said this twice this week. Now it's the 3rd time. Where the H is a SOCOM GAAS game. Like, how is that not the tip of the spear for Sony? Because think about this, folks. If that game comes out, that actually gives Call of Duty a run for its money. Who in the audience, raise your hand, spent hours playing SOCOM? Because I know that I did. That game was dope AF. And
so good.
Where is it? Where is it? You mean to tell me you still don't have the license IP? Well, spend some money, get it, bring it back. But they didn't do that. So now, Dread, we see that these plans that are now in effect from the former head of SIE in Jim Ryan might have been in effect for 4 years. And now the company is going to have a keen eye and being run by the head of Sony. Do you know how many years it's going to take for them to turn this ship around and to move back to the old Sony? It's going to take at least another 4 years. They're already 5 years behind Microsoft. I don't know, man. To me, Sony's in a bit of a pickle. What are your thoughts on Jim Ryan leaving?
Well, let's see here. Now, we've already discussed how funny everything is so quickly that he was in demand, everything was good to go. He was leading the charge, and now he's exhausted. He's tired of flying back and forth when he could have just moved, or I don't know, not flown all over the place to talk to other legislatures and politicians and whoever to stop the proceedings and the acquisition of ABK. But that all that flying around didn't mean nothing, So again, hypocrisy. But moving on. You also got to remember he's the face of the company. He's also, I don't know, Phil did the same thing, right? Phil and Xbox did the same thing when they went to the CMA, when they went to FTC. Same thing with PlayStation. They all did the same thing. They showed their hand as to who was weaker, right? So, but being the dominant force and as very headstrong as Sony is, and PlayStation has always been, is not a good look. When you're saying that we can do this, we are the best that there is, and you can't replicate us, and we don't have to conform to your form of the market because you can't fight with us. So you have to develop a new way to be competitive, and we don't have to do this. But yet you're going to sit there and show how weak you are by saying Call of Duty is your moneymaker. We've already established that. Wait a second, this doesn't sound right. That Call of Duty is more valuable than your first party games that were, I don't know, they were bangers, right? People were willing to pay extra money, right? These $50 games, I'll slap down $100 for it, right? Whatever, what happened to that bravado that you guys had with there, and you're talking about games that people were playing once and talking how great these things were versus the microtransactions. But apparently the microtransactions and GAAS games are really where it's at, where you're getting people to keep coming back, right? And it's like, wow. So that's not a smart move as a leader to show that, what else was there? Oh, that's right. Silent Cypher brought it up. Marathon versus Factions. So Factions, whether or not it was a competitor, you would think that there'd be more of a big brother, kind of like, hey, I'm your stepbrother. I'm going to show you the ropes here, and we'll go over this and teach you how to drive. And for the rumor, I'm going to call it a rumor. I can't say it's 100% sure because I really don't know. But for the rumor that Bungie canceled all of everything that happened with Factions because the game was that horrible, that doesn't look good. When you got to have competition within your own company too, because that's the whole thing. And if you only have one game that comes out, I'm sorry, but Marathon is not cutting it for me. Whatever they're pushing out there, it just does not look.
It does
like
not
something.
call to me at all.
No.
It's a multi-plat, but it does not call to me at all. Not at all.
Sounds like company preservation, doesn't it? Sounds like
Right.
Bungie's looking at it and thinking, well, what's better for us?
Exactly. What we need a oh, this is bad enough, but we need to cover ourselves, and here's the other thought, right? What did Jim Ryan do? What's his legacy? Increased pricing of the PlayStation in other countries. Granted, in the US we didn't see that, but we did see it in a way because you couldn't get those consoles without the add-on games that were jacked up the price. So you couldn't get the base game consoles without the game, which didn't matter to me because, again, I got it with God of War, and I was happy with what I got. A lot of people were happy, but again, we're willing to pay the little extra. I'm looking at it going, I got a deal because I didn't have to pay the extra. I saved a couple bucks off of buying God of War itself separately. So it made sense, in that aspect. I was going to get a game anyway. It wasn't a big deal. But when you look at it and you're like, okay, well, you got that. You jacked up the prices for your online services, premium and all that stuff. And then you still had all your online services very segregated, that you have to have the premium version of it so you can play backwards compatible games, which, again, the saves and all that problematic issues that they did not plan for properly. They didn't plan for it. They didn't think of it because they said, all right, cool. Once we're done here, we're moving on. I guess we're going to have to do some backwards compatible because Xbox is doing it too. So again, they didn't think of it. But you look at everything that's come out for the past few years on PlayStation 5, other than being remasters, a lot of that was from Sean Layden. So a lot of that work, legacy, that's Sean Layden's work and legacy. What did Jim Ryan leave?
That's a fantastic point, man.
Think about that.
It's,
What did Jim Ryan?
Dropping bars,
Yeah.
brother.
He left higher prices for everybody to pay, right? VR, the PSVR 2. All right, cool.
fail.
Where's that? Oh, that's overpriced just as much as the console, and the games aren't there. Where are the games? People have been wanting the games, right? These games are supposed to be bangers. Where are they? So what kind of legacy is he leaving? He's not leaving much of a legacy, right?
Mhm.
So
Dread,
yeah.
what if I told you that with this vast amount of video games that we've been left by the Ryan era, that you could buy yourself a $200 portable, non-portable controller console, mobile console, to play said
If-
non-games
to
on?
play in your house while your PlayStation
Well,
5 is on.
that's why it's a perfect companion. You got nothing to play. You don't have to worry about it. But here's the other thing, right? Did he, you look at it, right? Where are we at right now? Everybody's freaking out. But did he plan for the next generation of players? No, right? Where are those games? Those basic games. Sly Cooper. Everybody made fun of Xbox for bringing on Lucky's Tale, for bringing, for going back and doing some of the older games that they did. Voodoo Vince, Blinks. Yeah, they weren't the greatest games, and obviously it shows that Xbox kind of screwed up on that part. But at least they tried to do something, and then they went ahead and got Lucky's Tale. And what was that? Oh, why are you bringing kid games? We want adult games. Well, no shiznit. Okay, let's say it that way. But they're bringing in the next generation, right? And my wife's kicking in the background. What the heck is Foam Stars?
Foam Stars, game of the year.
She wants to know who is it for, because we don't. I mean, it's adult, right? Isn't it supposed to be adult?
No.
Okay.
No.
But this is the thing, right? And now you got Hiroki Totaki, right? Totoki. Hiroki
That's
Totoki.
a Toki, yeah.
Right? You got him coming in. He's a temporary, all right? He's not taking over for Jim. He's taking over for Jim temporarily until they can find somebody. But this is the same guy that says mobile games is superior to console. What? Think about that. This guy here, he's got like 3 different hats in there, and now he's brought on a 4th hat for all this. Think about this. He's got too much on his plate. Oh, wait. Didn't we have that with Halo? Oh, someone had too much on their plate because oh, that's right. But they had to leave too. Oh, wait. Oh, that's a similar exit, right? We have to go for the family, spend more time with the family. So I'm exiting. Well, wait a second. I'm spending more time with the family because I can't fly no more. There's just too much flying. Oh, what a coincidence. There's a lot of exits we've seen that have been family oriented as to why we were leaving. But we find out later on there's more truth behind the scenes than they led on to be. So think about that again as to his exit. Now, if he had a legacy that he left with games and a superior console and a superior platform that a lot of the let's say overhyped fans that are blind, right? Let's call them that, because I like some of the games, I like some of what they've done. But liquid metal that's killing your PlayStation, if you bump it accidentally, oops, and now you're done. What are you going to do? What is that legacy? The legacy of dead games, no dead console. I mean, this isn't even Red Ring of Death bad, because at least they went ahead and fixed it for free and extended the warranties. No, you're out of luck with PlayStation, right? And now we're gonna go with the next hack. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if you saw that
This
tweet
is-
from Pong Soul. They said that this is fun. I wish I had it to show you. This is Sony security, and it's a door closed being held by a Cheeto.
Yeah.
But it was great, and I'm like, yeah, that's about sums it up.
But here's the thing. This isn't the second time that they've been hacked, right? I can understand it. The first time, okay, they got us blindsided on this one.
No, it's
But
like the third
this
or
isn't
fourth
the
time.
second time. This is like the third/4th time, because it has happened before, but in a different facet, right? So again, what's going on here? Because if this guy's the leader, he hasn't shown. But again, all these guys that have been blind to all this have been, and they're still, please, Jim, don't leave. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Thank God he left. Now the door is open for Sean Layden to come back and show him why they screwed up when they let him go.
He was. It's funny you say that, because he was literally hired 3 weeks ago by Tencent.
Right.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sean Lane was hired
He was-
at a pretty big position within Tencent. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know who's going to run it, but I am going to tell you that the fact that they didn't hand reins over to Herman Holtz means that they don't have confidence in the American side of Sony PlayStation to run the company.
But I think Holman would have done much better, even in this state.
I mean, I don't know how much of a gamer he is, but he's a game designer, so he understands what the people want. Jim's not even a gamer.
No,
he's a businessman.
He's just straight up businessman. And yes, you need a businessman, and that's what he did great for the European section, right? He did great because he molded it, but it was under the leadership of Sean, right? So under that leadership, he did great. You can have a great football coach, and we've had it before, right? The football coach is the greatest football coach ever because of all his underlings. But as soon as he goes over somewhere else, oh, that's right, because now he doesn't have all the underlings that were doing his work for him. He's the worst football coach ever. But that same team that he left, still doing phenomenal. Why? Because the supporting team is there. Sean had a good supporting team. Jim, all he knew was how to dance.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Dance move Jim Ryan for sure.
Yep.
And
I'm surprised.
Threw out his hip. That's why he's leaving.
I'm surprised they didn't call him out for lying under oath. I'm just saying again.
No, he embarrassed the company. I think that's got to be the again, when you embarrass the company by getting out there and literally lying, and then of course them throwing your own company's first party games under the bus the way he did. This is ultimately it was stacks on stacks of why this change happened.
Win at all costs. Throw them all under the bus. That's what he did.
When you can't prove to Totaki that your console is more superior than mobile games, what did you do? Nothing. That's what he did. He just collected a paycheck, ran around, looked like a clown, and he's gone. Hope the best for him, but hopefully now maybe we'll get some real PlayStation games and we will get some real competition and none of this I don't know, we are competing by locking out people. Let's compete by actually doing the best we can versus locking out others. That's what I want. I want them to do the best.
And
they
well,
can.
we're gonna see. You're gonna see some big changes. Listen, let's bring in, of course, and then we're gonna, after we cover this first topic, we're gonna announce the first 5 winners that have been picked. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot take on this because everyone has brought up amazing points. Jim Ryan ultimately doomed himself with. Me personally think that what happened during the ABK deal is I don't know if it's the nail in the final coffin, but it's certainly a big part because he went out there, he lied, he embarrassed the company, he threw his first party under the bus. His GAAS games, where they have 12 GAAS games in development. And of course, again, we don't know if there is a SOCOM because it's not been announced. We don't know if it's a Twisted Metal or Resistance or one of their other IPs that they could. I'll tell you what IP is not going to translate well to a GAAS game, and that is Horizon Forbidden West multiplayer. Like, I don't get it, but I did say earlier this week, and I think you might have been there for it, Fuzzy, that when you try and make a studio or group of studios make games outside of their wheelhouse, you get a Redfall. That's exactly what happened there. And that's potentially what's going to happen with Sony and their first party studios. And again, like I said, now they have to, being that Jim Ryan is not there, they have to change the direction of the company. That takes years. That's not, you can't just do that in one sitting, sit down with everyone, okay, we're going to change and get it working. That's not the way development works. Game development is now, and we heard 3-Bit even tell us that it's upwards of 5 to 7 years on AAA games.
Yeah.
You can't just turn this ship around. Let's get your hot take on why you think ultimately Jim Ryan was forced to leave. Whether again, front facing, it's for travel, it's for family, and I get you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. I'm sorry.
Well, I said this early on in the ABK goings on. Once Microsoft was shown that they can acquire ABK, I knew he had like a 2-year expiration date on him. So I knew he was going to be out no matter what. I just didn't think it was going to be this soon. I actually thought Bobby Kotick would actually get the boot before Jim Ryan would, but here we are. And I think a lot of it is what everybody's already brought up as far as if you look at his window of when he's taken over from Sean Layden, there really isn't anything to kind of hang your hat on. Everything else is like the leftover legacy of Sean Layden. So yes, he's a numbers guy, businessman. Under this start, he's had a tremendous start as far as sale of hardware. But I think you could have probably put any boob in that position and they would have probably gotten the same result. There have been certain missteps that have kind of caused some flack, but it hasn't hurt the sales of the console. One being the, we believe in generations, and then, his old famous quote of, who plays old games. And I think that's probably the biggest problem. That's why we won't see a SOCOM GAAS game. That's why we won't see a Twisted Metal GAAS game, because he's of the mindset that nobody wants to play those old games, even if you bring them up to today's spec kind of thing. So that's already a anchor, over the side of the ship type of thing with his leadership as far as where the direction of Sony is concerned. But, bringing in Bungie, which was great as far as from an advisory role, but it should have been just that. Like, let's be clear. Naughty Dog didn't have any problem when they first released factions years ago before Bungie was part of their team. So why would you have them have the ultimate say on that game? I mean, clearly they did something that was pleasing to the fans before. So have them from an advisory role, give a few pointers, maybe polish a few things, but still go ahead and release the game. Why would you give this other party that's now under your roof that's able to, play everywhere kind of thing. All that kind of control. It just seemed like that was a misstep, let's just say. And then looking
That
at
I 1,000% agree.
and looking at the items that the GAAS games that they've shown, they were a bit underwhelming. And to their fan base's credit, you've trained them to just be on single player games, that
Yes.
over the shoulder third person, riveting story kind of movie game kind of thing.
Yes.
These multiplayer games aren't that. But what you could have done, like perfect example, look at Horizon series, right? The multiplayer game that kind of leaked out that looked kind of cartoony, kind of Fortnite-ish. I don't think your fans, when they are clamoring over the visual fidelity of that game, your better bet would have been to make it into a Monster Hunter like game. Like, who wouldn't want to play a Horizon game that's multiplayer, that's more of like a Monster Hunter game as opposed to a Fortnite game? I mean, if your current customer base is centered around the current Horizon series as we see it today, the Monster Hunter route would have been a better approach. Now, if it's a whole new IP, I could see, trying to copy some of the Fortnite magic, but that's one area that they screwed up. Let's look over at your competition, what they're doing with the Forza Horizon series. You used to be great at arcade racers and sim racers. Where are your arcade racers?
Where's MotorStorm?
Yeah.
Why not bring that? Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you that MotorStorm today is still one of my top 5 racers of all time. Now, I didn't care so much for MotorStorm 2 because they took it in a different direction. I didn't like it, but MotorStorm 1 was incredible. That's a game that you bring back, Fuzzy.
How about Twisted Metal?
Yes.
Exactly.
Come on.
Like a GAAS game like Twisted Metal would be perfect.
And they just had a show, a really good TV show.
Yeah. And like with Drive Club, okay, they had their, terrible launch in the PS4 launch time frame or whatever, but if you're going to base a arcade racer where they did have some, tracks in Drive Club that were based in Japan, why not beat Horizon to the punch? Build an arcade racer in Japan. You already have, Polyphony Digital out there. Yes, they are very slow when it comes to making Gran Turismo, but just have that focus where you make that arcade racer based in Japan, day and night cycles, street racing, track racing, twisted road or twisting roads for drifting and things like that. That would have been a thing to bring to the forefront, and then restore PlayStation as being competitive in the racing genre. But they didn't do that. The SOCOM idea, that's another one that they should have brought up years ago. Like, if you're worried about Call of Duty, then SOCOM should have been your first go-to as far as that's concerned. But aside from what Jim forgot or didn't bring to the table as far as for ideas for their system, it was just a matter of time where if you're going to put all your eggs in a basket to block this deal and it still goes through, then where does that leave you? Sure, you still have hardware number sales. Sure, you still have, third-party revenue streams coming in as far as your store, but you're getting hacked again. Not the second time, probably not the third time, because there was even one for the Sony pictures that got hacked not too long ago as well. So this is at least the third time from a gaming standpoint, and Sony overall, at least the fourth time overall. So it is what it is. But if he wasn't forced out, maybe he's making the smart move, considering that there is going to be a tide turning as far as where Xbox is going to get much closer in global sales. I think they're already pretty close. Like it's probably 1.2 to 1. PlayStation having a very slight advantage in the US as far as overall consoles, but globally they're going to start creeping up on them. Maybe not reach that pinnacle where they're close in Japan, but Europe is not too far off the beckoning call. Like right now they're behind, but it's within a year or two to catch up. And especially if you're having a hard time with your games as a service even coming to release, like you're getting as bad as Ubisoft. When you're as bad as Ubisoft with releasing games and you're supposedly the market leader, what are you doing? Like, and that's another thing. Like, they were on a smaller budget as far as acquisitions. Like, before the whole agreement with Microsoft and Ubisoft with ABK, I've been saying, and I didn't want this to happen because I love the division, but it would have been the smarter move for Sony, because I'll explain this in a bit. It would have been a smarter move for Sony to acquire Ubisoft, because they're the only ones that could probably get away with massive layoffs, trim the fat, take the IPs, and actually use those to compete against, Call of Duty. Who else? Like, if Microsoft picks up Ubisoft and they lay off 10,000 people, it's a news story for 2 years. Sony does it. Yeah, people will be mad. There'll be some spaces, and people will forget about it in less than 2 months.
Yep.
Because they've done layoffs before, and it's never in the news cycle. Microsoft does it. Apple does it. Google does it. Oh, it's a news cycle for a good bit of time. But Sony does it. Man, we mourn those that lost their jobs, and we move on. So Sony is the only one that could have gotten away with acquiring Ubisoft. Now it's too late. Now with the deal, they would have to wait. And if they could even do any purchasing, it would have to be for non-controlling stock value or non-controlling stocks, which at that point it's like a waste of money and a waste of time at that point. But yeah, I won't say he made a ton of bad moves, but he made a ton of moves that weren't what was in Sony's best interest in the long term. Short term, sure. Sell a bunch of consoles. You got that production finally caught up. You know, there's PlayStations on the shelves. They're still selling well, but at some point that's going to peter off. Once all the people that wanted them have them in hand, then what? Okay, you got Spider-Man 2 coming out. That's great. What's the roadmap for next year? Like, is it the GAAS games? Is it, Wolverine, which we kind of feel it's probably 2025. Like,
yeah, holiday.
If it wasn't for Insomniac, God help Sony. Like, where would Sony be right now if it wasn't for Insomniac? But yeah, it was expected. I just didn't think it was this soon. I thought he had more of a 2-year window, and we would see somewhat of a decline, and hopefully somebody like Herman Holtz would step up. But if he's not even, in the radar as far as who they want to run it, Sean Layden's happy with, like, he's probably getting paid twice as much as he was over at Sony, over at Tencent now. So he ain't coming back. If anything, if Tencent could afford to buy Sony, then that would be a different, matter. But that ain't happening either. Chinese companies
that's
never
not
buying
happening.
a Japanese company.
that would be more. I think honestly that would be looked upon as a horizontal merger. I don't think that would be a vertical merger. Same thing with Apple acquiring Sony, because obviously Apple Music, Sony Music, so there would be a problem there. They have their own,
So Sony, Apple wanted to acquire, like, the early days of when the iPhone came out, like 08, 09, like it came out in 07, but 08, 09, there was a big behind the scenes acquisition pull for Apple to acquire Sony, and Sony only wanted to sell off like the stuff that wasn't making money, and Apple wanted everything because they wanted to, at that point, they actually wanted to make an Apple TV that was a rebranded Sony TV. Much like you see, like the Beats headphones, although they kept that name, they wanted to do the Apple TV. They were already using Apple cameras or Sony cameras in the iPhone at that time. So it was easy for them to kind of, integrate them into a lot of the stuff that we see today with Apple and some of the stuff back then. So I still think they could probably get away with it, but it's just one of those things where I think the Sony fan base would at first probably be scared out of their minds and then probably cheer it, because then they would finally have somebody that can back Sony or PlayStation that has Microsoft type money. Yep. But until then, which I don't know, I still think Amazon is probably the more likely at this point, because Apple is fine making money off of games without making a game.
What about this? What about this? Sorry to interrupt, but what about this? Think of the deal that Ryan made. He didn't like the deal that he was getting for Call of Duty and Activision and all that, and the deal he ended up making was for Call of Duty only.
Yeah, he got the short end of the stick because of stupidity.
Think about because he was too busy wanting to cancel everything. He was so short-sighted that he ended up getting a worse deal than anything. I mean, he had a great deal from the get-go.
Yep.
That doesn't help either.
I'm sure that's part of the conversation. But look, at the end of the day, this was a shocking move. It's a move that, I mean, like, it doesn't really affect me personally. Like I said, I really enjoy my PlayStation for first party. I will in October when Spider-Man comes out, because I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing to play that, because I'm a Marvel stan and I really do like I even say I love Insomniac. So look, it is what it is. Change is coming to the industry sooner than later, and I think the market leader is going to eventually change to become Microsoft. And what they're doing to uh, not only continue making money in gas games, which we're going to go over the numbers in a second. It's what they're going to do with all of that profitability, how they're going to continue to buy studios and buy publishers and add games to Xbox Game Pass. And without going any further in increasing price, they'll be making so much money hand over fist with what we're going to get into, that Sony is ultimately gonna, I mean, they're gonna be left behind. There's just they are way behind right now. We'll break it down in a second. But before we get into that topic, I do got to catch up on the super chats and the channel membership messages, as well as announce the first 5 winners of Boom's birthday bash, 6th annual birthday bash. So we have a message here from Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for 14 months. Says, hi, Mr. Boomstick and panel and chat. Hope we have a great show. I turned 50 today, and I'm old now too. Hey, happy birthday, Tim the Sorcerer. What's going on, brother? Welcome to 50. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but we're old. It is what it is. Sis Lord drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, rip Netflix DVD rental. Yeah, I mean, that was always going to go to the way of the dodo, unfortunately. Ballatone, who's been a channel member for 8 months, says, let's go. Shout out to the hardest working man in these podcast streets. Let's go, brother. Thank you so much for being a channel member, as well as the kind words. Chris713, who's been a channel member for 6 months, says, Boom's birthday bash, lion, crying, flying, dance moves, Jim Ryan, retirement party. Let's have a great show, brother Chris. Thank you so much for that. East Texas Alex, who's been a channel member for 17 months, says, happy birthday. I'm very curious about the next big game from PlayStation, hoping for a brighter future for Sony and PlayStation. Indeed. Danny P in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, this is my first super chat. Boom, fellow old man gamer here, born in the 70s as well. You and the panel are always a pleasure to watch, brother. That is very kind of you. Thank you for the generosity, and welcome to the channel, Danny P. Appreciate that very much. Gaming Nerd Austria drops a very generous £5 super chat. Says, happy birthday, Boom, or as we would congratulate here in Austria, als gut zum Gebstrag. I believe I said, I know I butchered that. I apologize. No need trying to speak that out, but I did for you, brother. Thank you so much for that. He drops an additional £5 super chat and says, all the best to you and everyone here at the panel. Keep going on with the great content you do for us all 5 days a week. Really appreciate it. And again, trust me, it is an honor and a pleasure to have an audience that actually enjoys the 5 day a week shows that we do here. We have a channel message from P1553D, who's been a channel member for 2 months, says, happy belated birthday, Boom. Thank you so much for that. Saint Reborn 311 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Jim cited travel out of the UK, but lobbied all year in the UK. Pretty funny, right? Raiden Blade drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, Jim would have to answer questions via U.S. Congress again regarding the hack. Phil offered all of ABK's IPs for 10 years, and Jim spit in the face of ABK. Yeah, he wound up getting himself a really a worse deal, which is ridiculous. Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and says, question, Sean Layden's exit versus Jim is saving face. Let me tell you something. They said it in the chat. They said it on the panel. The Sean Layden era of how he was literally put out like yesterday's trash. They did him wrong. He left Sony and Jim Ryan in an amazing position. Jim Ryan is leaving Sony in a worse off state, at least in my opinion. Mo B drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Boom, happy birthday, happy belated birthday. My two boys' birthday was on the 24th and the 25th. Holy crap, that's awesome. Happy birthday to the boys." He says they are 13 and 11 years old. Everyone hit that like button. Happy birthday from me and Mrs. Boom. Moby, he drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "We absolutely love the content and the honesty and integrity that your show has each and every week." That's very kind of you. Those words mean more to me than even the super chat, because even though I appreciate the generosity, we do things here by the book. Like I said, I don't like the curse. I dropped an F-bomb today. I apologize for that, but it happens. But for the most part, in regards to the integrity, I will never sell out for money. I will never sell out for fame or fortune. I just won't do that. I'll quit the business before I have to change in order to get subs. It's just we come here, we put out the good, the work. It's well researched. I work on the channel 7 days a week, and I'm glad people enjoy it. It does really mean a lot to me. Maxie Coleman drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "GAAS Games funds first party. We are getting Warzone." We're going to get into it, brother. When I give you the list of what I researched in the last couple of days, it's going to blow your mind. Smokey drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "The new Sony CEO is going to be waiting outside Phil's office to present an offer to sell SIE to Microsoft as soon as the APK goes." That is funny. That's scandalous. Our good friend JFX88 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Jim Ryan stepping down. Sarah Morgan liked that." I don't know who Sarah Morgan is, but
from Starfield.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay, so I thought it was a real person. I didn't know. That's funny that she said Sarah, because I told you, remember, she broke out on me because I killed somebody.
Yeah, dude.
It
didn't matter what you. It didn't matter what you did around her. Like, she was always like, "I didn't like that," and you're like, "Well, I'm gonna leave you on a."
Yeah, you know what?
Well, F off. No.
All I could think is, like, I'm gonna find a moon and I'm gonna take.
I'm just gonna leave you here. Bye. Stay here for a second and take off.
Yeah, mind me some more.
Oh my God. Reggie Bone drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I don't take 30 years. It doesn't take 30 years to realize that living and working in two different countries is hard." That man was fired. I absolutely agree. A Silent Cipher drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "They could make Horizon sleep sound." Oh my
Dude, I'm just saying, you
That
could sell those for like
Holy
$1.99 a piece, and it'd probably be the best sleeping aid you could get out there on the market.
You probably could, yeah. Hadari Mac drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "A team of game developers going outside of their wheelhouse times 12. A series of bombs will not help the PlayStation brand. Indeed." Gerald Mack, our very good brother, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "All of these changes coming to PlayStation will unlock the gamer inside the pony, and this will create a mass exodus back to Xbox. Perfectly executed plan. Checkmate. Xbox World Order is in full operation." Oh my goodness. Execute Order 66 green. I mean, that's exactly what is happening in front of us. Our good friend Stuffed Sean, all the way from the other side of the pond, drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, "Jim saying goodbye, buying Ryan." Oh, that is funny. So listen, let me announce the first 5 winners, folks. And this, again, these are the channel members. We have Whole Grain Bread. We have D Diaz. We have Lethal Papa, the best mod in the business, Sith Lord, and Big Mad Mo. You fine folks, have all won a $50 gift card to your platform of choice. DM me, and I will get you those codes as soon as the show is done. I obviously have to, get the codes. I don't have them, I can't print them out. So give me a few hours to get the codes, but everyone will get their codes. The next 5 winners will be announced midway towards the end of the show. And thank you, everyone that is here. Let's talk about these GAAS games, gentlemen. Now, I put this topic together, and I want to throw some numbers out there because I think the numbers do really affect what and how Jim Ryan was either asked to step down or ultimately fired. And of course, we're talking numbers for Xbox. Now, Sea of Thieves, right? A game that everyone clowned on, which by the way is having a PvE update for 1 to 4 players. They're answering my calls for help. So at least Boom will not get robbed when I'm trying to bring chests in, right? Like it happened to me and maybe get away from the game. That update is coming and it's going to be PvE, meaning that it's you versus the computer, and you're going to be able to play with up to 4 players. Or, like I'm going to probably do, just sail this my little ship and do my own thing, and I will get back. I will get into Sea of Thieves because I will not be worried about getting robbed. That's just not fun. They have crossed 30 million players in this GAAS game, which is ridiculous. Now, Minecraft is a worldwide event. It is a worldwide brand. I checked the numbers as of this morning. Folks, they have 140 million monthly users. 140 million users of what was it's a GAAS game. It would fall into that GAAS game because it makes money, right? Well, they just announced yesterday that Minecraft Dungeons has surpassed 25 million unique players. That game only released 3 years ago. That's a really, really big deal. But I have some other numbers, to add to context here. ESO, right? Elder Scrolls Online, which is Microsoft first party, is an MMO. It is a games as a service type of title. Almost 24 million players. Fallout 76, right? Which was considered by many a black eye for Bethesda, right? A Bethesda game forced to be made because of the management before they were sold to Microsoft. Almost 14 million players. And that game, from what I understand, because I don't play it, because it's not my bag, is apparently really good now. Now, when you take those numbers and you now add Call of Duty Warzone, you add Overwatch 2, and then we go and we look at how much money Candy Crush is making. Folks, this is a printing money machine for Microsoft and Xbox. So how does that correlate to us as the gamer? Well, how that correlates is your subscription service is probably never going to go up. And if it does, it's not going to go up for another 5 years. Now, granted, yes, it did go up $2. That deal with Ubisoft, I am telling you right now, is going to translate outside of the deal for them to do the cloud gaming. That is going to, I'm telling you, it is going to bring Ubisoft Plus to Xbox Game Pass the same way EA Access or EA Play is in there. This is going to open the door and push Microsoft well beyond the reach of Sony. I would even dare say is Nintendo, but Nintendo isn't really there, is not a challenge here. Nintendo has been doing their own thing for years. They will continue to make money hand over fist doing their own thing. We're talking Sony. And when you look at the direction of Xbox right now, what did they show us, Silent Cypher, at June? Everything that we've been asking for first-party, single-player types of games, and they can do it. And they can do it, and because they're making so much money with these GAAS games, and they're about to close ABK, I think there is a big swing coming to this industry, and even the first-party bangers from Sony are not going to be able to swipe away what Microsoft is doing because they're going to be releasing their own first-party bangers. Starfield is just the tip of the spear of what's going to happen. And when you consider all of these GAAS games, they're far from done of purchases through first-party. Through adding new studios to add to their first-party. And we may even see a publisher. We may even see a Japanese publisher. Who is that? Is it Bandai Namco, who Sarah Bond just visited? I don't know. Is it Sega? Who the heck knows? We know it's not Capcom, at least for now. Let's get your take on everything that I just put forth.
Yeah, actually, so you mentioned Capcom, because of course we got the response saying we're not interested in a purchase at this time. That's great and all, but if a situation comes where the right amount of money is presented and the shareholders see that number and say, yes, this is worth our time, like money talks in this business. So even if they're not interested in it at this point in time, it doesn't mean it can't happen if they really wanted to go that route. Personally, for me though, I think Sega would be the one that they'd end up going for. You look at that relationship the last little bit, and it has definitely blossomed versus, some of the old times. Like, obviously, they've had their kind of hits and misses with each other, but they've had a very long history together. You look at the original Xbox, and it was bundled in with, what was it? It was goodness, it was like the Sega Rally, and it also had the, goodness, I'm forgetting.
I
the name
remember
right
that
now.
too.
Jet
It was
Set
a
Radio.
2-pack.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio. Thank you.
Yeah.
It had that combo disc that came in it. So you look back, and their history goes all the way back to the original Xbox with each other. So that seems to be the thing that would make the most sense for me. I'm interested to see, after all this MSABK stuff closes, what the next move is. Like, I think a lot of people assume that because of the scrutiny that they've received for the last little while, that they'll go quiet, that they'll focus specifically on this. I don't think so. I think we start seeing some quick moves, especially in relation to the recent news that we've heard, right? So you look at something like Embracer, where they say, hey, we're having to lay off these people, etc., blah, blah, blah. And, these projects like Perfect Dark that's being worked on right now, that won't be impacted by this. I look at this and I think, like, they'll start picking off small devs. Embracer is a gold mine for Microsoft to go in there and buy a bunch of stuff.
Dude.
Because as long as it's under that threshold, they don't have to go through the courts and do all the shenanigans like they did with ABK. It's
and they
a
can
lower
buy them
threshold.
individually. Let's make that
Exactly.
clear. They don't have to go and have to buy, hey, Embracer, give us these 5 studios. They could solely pick them. Get Crystal D, right? Get Crystal Dynamics. Get Eidos Montreal. What is that game that came out that everyone was playing? That's like a Souls game that just released by Embracer. Oh my God, it's by a small studio. Go get that studio. You know what I'm talking about. It took the world by storm, and they're hurting for money, right?
Yeah, they are, right. That we know that deal that they were kind of hedging their bets on didn't end up working, right? And Embracer's in a bad spot right now. You know that right now they're just looking for a golden parachute. So Microsoft, once this stuff is done and they can actually start playing ball again, I guarantee you they start picking off small groups, because Embracer's not going to try and bargain with them. Embracer's going to be like, you want to give us money for this that we're getting ready to try and close down because we can't make the money? Yeah,
Tomb Raider.
Yep.
Yes.
Tomb Raider, Deus Ex. Yeah,
Dude,
there
there's
are so many studios that they
It's
have.
going to be like a one-stop shopping. Phil's going to have like the basket in his hand and just walk down the aisle and be like, boop, boop.
Dude, it's the dollar store purchase of a lifetime for Microsoft. Like, they'll be able to go in there and just, like, it'll be nuts. The amount of stuff that they could take on if they wanted to, it's easy. And like I said, it's under the threshold that they're not going to have to play a bunch of games like they did with the Activision Blizzard acquisition. So I think that's where we see the first targets hit. Big publisher like Sega or something, maybe that would be a little bit down the road, maybe a year or two from that one. But I think small companies are going to be the target for the next bit, because it allows them to do what they want to do and what they need to do and not have as much scrutiny and time kill in between acquisitions. It's it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time for Microsoft. They've got all these games of service that they've kicked out. You look at Bethesda. Bethesda's got a ton of stuff they've been pushing out. Bethesda just released that Elder Scrolls Castles game on mobile, which I started playing a little bit last night. You look at all these games that they're kicking out as games as a service and live stuff, and it's the complete opposite to what we expect for Sony, right? Is Microsoft's
Yes.
been doing this long enough that they have a good idea to an extent on how to make this work. You look at something like Forza Motorsport, that's going to be one of those games as a service where they plan on kind of making this a long-term aspect. You look at Sony, and we've never seen them really dip their toes into that.
Yep.
And so
That's why
there's
they're
a
in
question
trouble.
mark. Yeah. Yeah, there's a big question mark of how they'll actually do with it, because it's not their bread and butter. Microsoft has done this long enough, implemented it in some games here and there as we've gone forward, and they've gotten a good feel for how they want to do it. And it's worked out pretty well. And especially with everything we're seeing, like you mentioned in June, we saw that not only do we have games as a service and all that stuff, but they are going to be delivering those first person, like the single player story narratives, those fables, stuff like that, stuff like Hellblade. They're able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. They're able to multitask,
Yes.
and it's starting to show based on the release cadence that we're seeing.
It's I put it like I said, Sony isn't going out of business, folks. No one is suggesting it. No one's saying Sony's in trouble, but Sony's first place grasp is loosening. And I got to tell you, once they let go, and they're going to be forced to let go because they're not going to be able to keep up and compete. That's the bottom line. The market leadership needs innovation. It needs customer service, which we know that they are horrible on, right? They have no plan for their service that they're selling us, which, by the way, on Jim Ryan's exit is charging $40 more a year for what? Did we get anything extra? That's why I canceled mine, and I don't care about the cloud saves. Again, another egregious thing that no one talks about from the media, but whatever. Real quick, Hargeet Chani's here in the chat. Hargeet, welcome, brother. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "What a couple of weeks. The industry is definitely in flux. Apple bringing games to iOS and Mac, Xbox with big moves, Nintendo with console to play AAA games, and PlayStation changing leadership. Oh my, indeed." And Whole Grain Bread, who's been a channel member for 2 months, says, "I don't have Twitter, but got you as a friend on Xbox. Yes, message me and I will get you that code, brother. Absolutely, I use Xbox. As long as your name is Whole Grain Bread and I know that it's you, and I'm not giving it to some Johnny come lately who stole your name, we're good." Let's bring in Crispy Bomb. Crispy, this is a conundrum for Sony. And you know something? Shame on me as a fan. I should put myself in a doghouse. You know what other game I didn't mention? That's a game as a service that is absolutely amazing that you can play right now. That's Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite Online is another game. Now, granted, maybe it's not your bag. Maybe it's not the Halo that you want. That Halo is coming. But Halo Infinite is a games as a service title. It's in there. You can play for free right now. And it is Xbox first party. When we put down all of these big numbers, Crispy, and you look at Sony and what they're doing, they're not just leaps and bounds behind. I would even say they're 7, 8, 9 years behind what Xbox is doing, especially when you consider it is much easier to deliver the single player narrative type of title than it is for the multiplayer and the GAAS games, which Microsoft, based on what we just went over, has on lock. Let's get your hot take on that, dude.
Well, let's be honest here. You said Halo. So Halo, I mean, this is from Clobril, by the way. 22 plus million.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
22 million people played Halo Infinite. Okay.
And the one thing I'll say, and I will give Jim a little bit of credit. You got Nixus, but the problem I have is you have them working on games that are one and done. And unfortunately, in the time we're in, because we may not feel the same way as, being older and everything else, these young kids, it's what have you done for me lately?
Indeed.
So, and let me just bring some full-on context to this. 15+ million for Grounded. Grounded was
Another GAAS game I left off the list. Wow. I forgot about
dev
that.
team within Obsidian that was I think maybe 20 people.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, obviously,
Passion project. Yes, by the way.
They probably have more people on it now. I've always said, you're going to say Insomniac is PlayStation's greatest purchase. Well, I think Obsidian is Xbox's greatest purchase.
I would have to agree with you there. Yeah.
They do things, and this is where, that is the same as Fallout 76, by the way. Think about that. And people are working on Fallout 76. Who's working on Grounded right now? And they're coming out with another update, by the way. And I'm going to tell you right now, the kid is excited for it. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, let's see what they're going to do now. Supposedly you can move the stuff that's actually you thought wasn't movable, and build a base around that. Those are the type of that I'm not into it, but that doesn't mean that it's not relevant. You know what I'm saying? These is what Xbox is doing. They're looking to all gamers, and they're saying, look, we got something for everybody. We got all the hands in the cookie jars. I've said this many times before, but it's been a while. And they look at it and they're like, we can look at a game. Ninja Theory came out with Bleeding Edge. It was a fail. Redfall, fail. But with every failure, you learn something. Do you not?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you don't learn something, you're not a successful company. There are going to be investment fails. It is going to happen. It's happened to me investing myself personally. But imagine being a CEO. I mean, Phil's still there, people. I saw people that think he should have been fired and all these other things. And I laugh at that completely because, I mean, Forza Horizon 5, 30+ million.
Yeah.
Think about that. The one thing Phil did a long time ago is said, we will release where people allow us to release. Okay? They said, hey, PC, we're good with you. Yeah, I mean, everything doesn't release perfect. There's drivers, there's all these things that I don't involve myself in for a reason. I've done it when I was younger, and it made no sense when I can just boot up the game and play it. I'm a different guy. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I have went through that realm of the PC realm. It was just very early. And I said, this is not something I want to do. I want to play the game. That's what I want to do. Give me the game. If there's problems on the console, I'm going to say it. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to it, Xbox has embraced this, hey, crossplay, hey, this, hey, that. Hey, you want to, we're going to release mobile versions, and hey, we're going to do this and that. And everybody's like, oh, they're just not making AAA bangers. But what makes the company money? But also, you see games like South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution and all these single player games all of a sudden being in the forefront. This is next year, I think it's going to be an onslaught of single player to let the Sony fans that may have been 360 fans at one point know that, hey, we're still here. We make money off of what we've already brought out because we saw the future and we continue to update these things. I would be interested in anybody in the chat, drop that. How many updates for all of these games that we've mentioned have happened? I guarantee it's in the 50s. I wouldn't doubt it. And that's where I go and say, like, I get it. Like, everybody trashed Fallout 76, but people are still playing the darn game. Shoot, I still get matches in Gears 5 in like the most niche part of it in 2v2 Nasher. There are certain aspects, and we don't say a damn word. We're just like, this is what we have, and I still love it. You know what I mean? And as they update stuff with games that are relevant right now, it's one of those things, like, this is what they do, and that's okay to me. They didn't charge me any money for the update. They just do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I pay my subscription, and maybe that's like the one wall that's there, but it's what, $17 a month? I mean, I pay more for Netflix, and I love Netflix, actually. I think they bring me a variety of content. They make me think about things sometimes, because I'm just like, you know what, this seems interesting. And then I click on it, and then I'm watching the entire season or 3 or 4. You know what I mean? Like, these are the type of things that I feel like, Xbox is like, hey, like, we understand that not everyone's going to love every single content. Starfield is a success in their eyes, but some people are trashing it. They're okay with that. Sony's not okay with anybody trashing anything. Okay, because everybody has their own darn opinion. They're going to have it, and they're not going to care what anybody else says to them. But in Xbox's eyes, hey, like, if there's like a influx of people being like, hey, this isn't right, they're going to try to fix it. And it might not be like immediately, but it seems like as updates come out, people stop talking about these games. Yet I see millions, tens of millions on all these games. I mean, Flight Sim, come on. You know what I mean? Like 12 million people.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
That's
even
not a
State of
game
Decay
for me.
2, who just released a new update that literally changed the game, has 11 million players.
I mean, and I played it in the beginning. No, not my jam. Okay. And I am one of those people that love to build like my own little, area and all that stuff. I just couldn't do it. Okay. It was janky. It was weird, but I haven't played it in years. Am I going to trash those people that love that game because I haven't played it in years? No. That's the difference between an Xbox guy or fan that used to be a PlayStation fan, that used to love the SOCOMs and the Twisted Metals and all those games that really brought the brand to the forefront. Like, where's Resistance? Where's all of these games that PlayStation had that really could be, brought to the forefront of it being partly a GAAS game, but also giving you a single player story? I'm asking, and I hope that PlayStation realizes that multiplayer gaming doesn't have to be full on GAAS. You can add a multiplayer element after, is a part of their new thought process. Because in Jim's thought process, it's one or the other. Well, how about
It's
the
not
in
both,
between?
and that's why he's gone. Yeah, 100%.
The in between is the one part where you can say, hey, you're a multiplayer gamer, we got that. Hey, you're a single player gamer, we got that too.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that. And yes, like, there's games like Grounded, like, you can play it single player. A lot of people don't realize that. You can play it single player, you can play it multiplayer. You can invite people, you can do all of these things. And it's so seamless on Xbox. It's incredible. I couldn't believe how easy I could like join a game the way I do now. And it's even more prevalent with the new hardware. But even back then, I've Gears. That's why I'm an Xbox gamer. But now I'm like, what I love about Gears has like come tenfold into all these other games. And it started with Gears and Halo. They always had multiplayer and single player. You know what I'm saying? And now, like, hey, like, you get your Clockwork Revolution, you get your, South of Midnight, you get all these games, Hellblade 2. that are going to be single player. And I think next year is going to be single player drop hardcore.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. Yep.
And it makes total sense because right now, all I see from Sony is they're like, backpedaling and they're just staring at like the entire, like, imagine just staring like at the moon and then seeing all the stars around it and be like, oh crap, I forgot about all the stars, man. Forgot about all those little nuances that are within the sky that people actually care about, even though I don't. Maybe we should take a step back real quick and relax and kind of like, let everything level out and stop giving us bad news upon bad news. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was like PlayStation 2 whole generation. I had the PlayStation 2. I was a PlayStation fanboy. That's the only thing I thought about. And that was after being a Sega fanboy. That's where I go and say fanboy is what? It's what's they're doing for you lately, people. PlayStation ain't doing nothing for you. It's time to put their, the fire under their butt and say, hey, yeah, you're raising prices. You're being an a-hole to me. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to just sit here and be like, oh, everything's fine? No, I'm good with that. And that's where I say, you know what? I stood on the hill of Xbox. I said, don't change nothing. Involve multiplayer all the time. I don't want you to be Sony. And they continued to do it. And now all of a sudden, these many years later, we are at this point. And it's laughable to me when people make excuses, but I got the receipts, bro. I'm just saying. So just remember, don't come at me. I always said multiplayer, multiplayer, multiplayer. Do I want single player elements? Yes. But you got to find that balance. And unfortunately, Xbox knows what the hell they're doing. They have stuck with it. And Sony don't know what the heck they're doing now. They're firing people or retiring people, whatever you want to call it. And then you're going to sit there and act like, hey, everything's fine. It's not. You know what? I'm going to be honest. Straight up, Coalition is hiring, by the way, any devs that were laid off. They're hiring. They put
quite
it
a
on
few
Twitter.
people are hiring. Yeah, I just saw a bunch of a lot of Xbox studios put out, hey, we're hiring.
They're hiring because guess what? They took a bet, and that's thanks to Phil's leadership. Yes, we're going to be upset when Phil leaves, but we're not going to be begging him to stay. We know there's other people behind the scenes that are younger and even more passionate than him, like Sarah Bond, that are going to take over the reins and make it even better. And that's where I say, you know what? Like, you guys act like, we hate Jim. No, I don't like what he's done to the consumer for the past, couple years, it feels like. So what do you want me to say? Like, good riddance. That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, good stuff. Like I said, I think he the old saying is, you make your bed, you got to lie in it, right? So let's bring in, actually, before we get to Cypher and to Fuzzy and Dreadpool, I want to bring in Web Dave, who has unfortunately had to step away for work purposes and is back. So Dave, you've heard what we had to say about the GAAS game situation for Xbox. It's on point. It's tip of the spear. But we know that they are going to be answering the call of single player content, and we saw that again, tip of the spear once again for Starfield. Obviously, Motorsport is going to be a dual launch, because that's, you're gonna have multiplayer, but it's a single player racing game, and it's just the hits are gonna continue. Ultimately, what Phil Spencer has built for Xbox and its community and the platform and its investors, everyone is winning here. This is why Jim Ryan has to go. This is why he left. Again, I take nothing away from the fact that, yes, he's an older gentleman. Yes, traveling as much as he does, tough on the body, tough on the family life, no doubt. But there is no doubt in my mind that the PlayStation that he is leaving behind is way worse. And I say way with a capital W-A-Y, worse than when Sean Layden left. And he was shown the door like yesterday's old trash, and they're giving the flowers to Jim. I don't understand why, because Jim his success is based on Layden's plan. Jim's success is why he's leaving. Let's get your take on this, man.
Yeah, definitely. So to me, I guess the lack of enthusiasm from some of the fanboys is that they have so much going to be, look, I play Sony. I love my PlayStation 5, but the actual brand right now is definitely not in a place they've been comfortable being, I don't know, ever. So you got fans that are like, oh my gosh, what else is going to happen to us? What else is next? What else is coming? What else is coming at us? Or the lack of not coming in the vein of games. So there's definitely a lot of people that are upset about this, and then others that are trying to make light of it. It is kind of a big deal. It seems like if this was if something that was more, I guess, even if he's I mean, we don't know the 100% behind it. I mean, maybe he's having some health issues that we don't know about. Maybe he's, maybe there is, some other fatigue that, or he's, realized I've made a lot of money. I really can't seem to do much else for the company at this point. Let's step out while the stepping's good. Maybe, I don't know, but it definitely does not look like they have this wasn't something that was like in the works for a while. It was or they probably would have been better prepared for it as far as a successor or type thing, but without naming anybody, maybe it is the Sony main office trying to rein in the PlayStation division, that for a long time is their bread and butter, but right now is looking a little suspect because we sell a lot of consoles. That's great. If you have a lot of consoles out there, you have a lot of people that are that are going to buy your product because that's what they have. But the revenue, the money, the profits that they're making aren't really in line with what a first place, the leader of the industry, you would expect to be at. So if you got the third place, company that's making more profit than the number one company, financially on the books, there is a big discrepancy as to why that is. And whether it's something of their own doing or not, a lot of people said that they kind of got lucky the way the pandemic fell and they had things in the works that were further along. And so that's why things, that's why they were able to kind of, go with the flow longer than Microsoft, where Microsoft looked like they didn't, had a year of, Microsoft has no games. That was last year. That's not this year. This year it's full throttle, full on, and we have a path. We know a lot of games that are not only coming, but are already now slated. We don't have the actual date, but we know they're slated for next year. At least 3 or 4 AAA titles that are slated for next year. Not to mention, when the acquisition is finished, there's going to be a lot more games that are going to be in the wheelhouse of Microsoft first party, and that is looking really good for Microsoft and for people that are in the Microsoft ecosystem, especially with the Game Pass and the promises they make for that.
Indeed.
So there, and there was some other people who will lay unnamed that were, their big topic on their show yesterday was that worried that the exclusives in Game Pass would be so exclusive to Game Pass that you wouldn't be able to buy them outright, and that's just will never be the case. If it's a game that's available on Microsoft, you can go into a store and either buy a hard copy or digital copy straight out and not be like tied to Game Pass, and that's the only way you can get it. That's crazy. And they've never stated or never put forth that. But yet some people are trying to go with that narrative to make Game Pass look bad, like, oh, evil corporation. But the big news was Sony got rid of their main guy. Why did they do that? Because they either feel like they're going down a path that's not going to make them the profit that they need to maintain, or that it's time for a change. I tried Gymways for a while, and it just did not working out for them in the long run. When they're projecting their future, when they're looking forward to what's available and what's next, people like, oh, there's going to be a secret, going to be a new state of play, and the secret one's coming. I don't think so.
Secret show.
I really don't think that there's a secret one in the can. There could possibly be some standalone state of plays for sure, like a Death Stranding 2 to get us further along on what that's going to be about. That could definitely be, but it's not going to be a big showcase for showing what's coming it's going to be just focused on one game. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. It's kind of where I'm at, Boom.
No, I mean it's a great point. It's definitely a great point. Let's bring in Dreadpool and get his business take on this. It appears, and again, this is subjective. You can think otherwise, and you may have a point. Anyone that wants to challenge what we're saying here, but there is a direct path that Microsoft is going down. They have their large amount of GAAS games even before you bring in Warzone and Overwatch 2 and the potential moneymaker that's going to come the way of a lot of the mobile games, which includes Candy Crush, right? They already have a lot in play. We know from the June event that first-party single-player games are going to be released in an abundance. They have a ton in development, and we have a ton potentially releasing, which started with Starfield to lead all the way through 2024, 2025, maybe even 2026. There's a report today that we're going to talk about on Monday that, thanks to a posting, we have learned that State of Decay 3 is going to be released in 2027 by the time they're done with it. That's going to have potentially a single-player aspect as well as a multiplayer GAAS game aspect, another first-party game. When you look at all of this, and you see the way Sony is floundering, because that's really what they're doing. They're floundering in first party because we don't know what's happening. And they're also have 12 GAAS games that in development. And this decision is probably what cost Jim Ryan his job. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, we've already established one and done doesn't get you the money that you think you're going to get, no matter how expensive it gets. But it just seems very odd. Wasn't I saying something about these companies being a holding company? Oh, that's right. I did say that. We could possibly get Crystal Dynamics later on. I was hoping to get Tomb Raider, but we got to wait for Amazon to finish their portion of the lease of that IP. But it makes perfect sense. They've already said it. They were, this is, ABK was one of those unicorns that they had to catch, and they couldn't let it pass by, so they had to do it. And unfortunately put them in this predicament where they couldn't get a lot of these studios, and some of these studios ended up going to Embracer Group. And I even said, it could be that the Embracer Group is just, I don't know, playing nice and, doing a investment. Let's buy this now. We'll sell it at a higher price to Microsoft. And, now
they bought everything for $300 million, right?
Yeah.
It's safe to say that Microsoft would be willing to pay for the talent, somewhere
as long as
for both Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. They buy them separately. They fall under the $100 million mark, and they don't have to go to FTC or anybody. They just buy them and just make the announcement. And PS, by the way, those two studios happen to be working on two first-party revivals of IPs that have been dead for decades. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you do add them.
Well, here's the other thing. They also come with the IPs, right?
Yes.
Because what did I say way back when? Xbox did not leave the table. They just pushed back from the table of WB and that was leaked in the emails that they even said without the IPs, it doesn't make sense to buy any of those studios. And this is the perfect case right here. They're not buying multiple IPs. They're buying a few IPs that might be coming with that studio. And Tomb Raider is one that would come through. So certain ones would come with, so doing that, it makes perfect sense, and yet again, it's small enough that it comes out underneath the radar because it doesn't flag anything. It's not big enough that it would cause any issues. And we already knew that this is the lead that they were going to, because again, ABK going up for sale was a huge unicorn that nobody, if you had the money, nobody would pass up on it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, they knew what they were dealing with when they got into it. They knew that they were going to deal with the Lena con artist, and just saying.
The more and more we talk about it, the more it feels like Embracer is basically like that homie that his friend goes to jail, and so he hides all the contraband with him until he's out of prison, because Microsoft's been in this ABK acquisition prison, right?
Oh my god!
So it's like
he's
they're holding on to the goods.
He's holding the bag, is what you're saying.
Yep. He's holding that bag,
and he's making sure that his family is taken care of while he's out.
Yes, he is.
So,
yes, he is.
Kind of, good friend deal. But that's again, that's the way I was looking at it. And it could still be very well that way. But I mean, again, it's one way to make money, because they are not a game company. They are a I forgot the terminology for it.
Investment group.
Yes, investment group. Thank you. So they are an investment group. So doing that is not outside of their parameters. Buy it, hold on to it, and they got a good deal when they bought everything, and they can just jack it up a little bit. But now that they're in a hole, they just need enough money to keep afloat, and hopefully Xbox gets a good deal. Because I personally would benefit, because I would get the games that I would want to go into Game Pass, because that's what I subscribe to.
Yep.
Hopefully everybody else would benefit also. I'm sorry, but we're all greedy. I don't care what side you're on. You're greedy. You want the games that you want, and that's I have already established that, right? Lucky's Tale. Why do you want that? Why would you buy a kid's game like that? We want adult games. We want adult themed games, right? That's what we want, but they're looking at it for future. So yes, Lucky's Tale is not my thing. I know a lot of people played it. I tried it out, and it's all right.
I beat with the both releases.
And that's what I was going to say. I know you played both of them, and you gave it great reviews. So for you to beat them both and give great reviews, not every game's for everybody, but at the same time, this is where it leads to. And that's, again, me being greedy. I want them to buy these certain IPs. I want them to buy these studios. And Crystal Dynamics would be a great studio because, oh, wait, they're already working on another IP that I love, Perfect Dark. So it makes sense. But again, it's just, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But future predictions, we've already stated, and it seems like a lot of it's coming true again.
Yeah, no, I mean, great points as always. Let's get Fuzzy Belvedere's hot take on this. But before we do that, I want to catch up on a few super chats, and I want to announce the next 5 winners. Now, we have a super chat here from Gerald Mack. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, trying to start what Xbox has been doing for almost a decade is going to be rough nut to crack for Sony, and that is why Jim left. Indeed, absolutely. We Robo 2024, who's been a channel member for 11 months, brother, your name is in there, FYI. Thank you so much for the outstanding support. Raiden Blade drops an additional $5 super chat and says, Xbox by the devs they are working with, then go into a second-party partnership with Embracer, pay the $5 billion to get all those games on multi-plat and Game Pass. I mean, yeah, that would definitely be a big shot of investment money into Embracer and would get a ton of games into Xbox Game Pass. Hargeet Chani drops a channel member message, and he's been a channel member for 13 months. Hargeet, thank you so much for the generosity. He says, most sold game in history is Minecraft. One of Satya's first acquisitions. They have been building the foundation to allow for Game Pass and single-player games at the same time. He's 100% right. That Game Pass is going to thrive with both multiplayer and single player, and it's something I think that you're going to see Sony severely struggle with. Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and says, sorry, Boom. Happy New Year's Day. Love and health. Yeah, thank you so much for the birthday wishes, brother. Super appreciate that. We have Gamers Play HUD Zero, who drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, morning, Boom, happy birthday. And seeing Phil signing a PlayStation 5 in Japan is a definitive message Xbox was here. Hashtag welcome to the Xbox World Order. Phil and Sarah just begun. Indeed. Fantas Archer drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I thought Sony's profit schemes might have been necessary given what ABK is going to deliver to Microsoft. Those profits might scare some, even regulators. Indeed. I mean, the deal is done for Activision. In regards to Sony, Sony's still the market leader. They're still making money hand over fist. They're still selling PlayStation 5s like they're going out of style. They just only have one game to sell this year, and that is Spider-Man, and that's why it is a console PS5 exclusive, and it's not on the PlayStation 4 because they want to sell you the box in a very traditional Sony way. We have here whole grain bread. It says, I just messaged you on Xbox. Don't want to say my gamer tag publicly. Sons play there. No, don't sweat it, brother. I'll check it as soon as the show was done, brother. Don't even worry. Make sure everyone hits the like button. Panel is killing it. Chat is killing it. Great topics today. That comes the way of Pragmatic Eagle, who's been a channel member, my God, folks, for 48 months. Brother, thank you so much for the generosity. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, news, Jim retires. Reason for him is travels. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's what he's saying. I'm not going to argue it, but I think ultimately when you look at the evidence that has been presented by everyone on this panel, there's other reasons outside of this of it travel. Hargeet China drops an additional very generous $5 super chat, and he says this, and I love this: buy CD and EDOs without IPs, license IPs for a while with option to buy at the end of the term. Embracer wins. Microsoft won't go over the $100 million threshold. See that, and this is an important point, because you don't want the regulators looking at anything they want to do. If they could pick up Eidos Montreal and do a separate purchase for under $100 million, no regulation involvement. If they could pick up Crystal Dynamics, who's working on a first-party IP for under $100 million with just a studio, which they could do, and they should do, under $100 million, no regulation for shenanigans, no Lena Khan shenanigans. They just buy the studio and maybe keep it under wraps and do something like they did in 2018. Go to have an E3 and announce, hey, we just acquired these 5 studios, because no one needs to know that you acquired these 2 studios. They're working on first party stuff anyway. That's a great point, Hargeet. And last and no way least, Justin Russell drops a very generous $2 super chat. And I actually just saw this. He says PlayStation is shutting down Gran Turismo Online on 1/31/24. More shutdowns for Sony.
It's just
damn.
Yeah, it's been it's Sony's going through it, as the kids will say. Okay, so the next 5 winners, folks, comes the way of you from out. He's a good friend of ours from the other side of the pond. You obviously, if you're going to want your $50 prize, DM me and I will send you that via PayPal, because I know that you are in England. Saint Reborn 311, Aussie Fan 80, Sanchez Gaming, and Gummy Hernandez. You have all won a $50 gift card of your platform of choice, courtesy of Mr. and Mrs. Boomsticks. Yes, thank you for the announcement. I will read all 10 winners by the end of the show, so we make sure everyone knows that they won. I will do an announcement on Twitter, on the socials. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot take. Everyone has had some great, really good takes on the gas game situation for Xbox versus PlayStation. And I think it's really been said best by our good friend Gerald Mack, where Microsoft has been at this for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony is now dipping the toe in. And then when you hear, well, we have 12 games as a service, 10 of those are going to fail. And they've canceled, I think, 2 or 3 of them already. They actually just canceled one yesterday that they were working on. So let's get your take on this, man.
Well, it's great to see that. Excuse me. It's great to see that a lot of the games that Xbox has had in that games as a service set up for some time now of doing really well. The Forza games have kind of been that way for some time. Horizon being the bigger between that and Motorsport, only because Motorsport's more focused on the track stuff. But in general, those have always done well. Halo's always done well. As Crispy mentioned earlier, Gears has always done well. And to see now with some of the acquisitions and even some of their internal teams making new IPs, like not considering that Minecraft is this juggernaut out there, but who would have thought, as far as like Minecraft Dungeons, something that's kind of like a spin-off series, would do as well as it's doing. Yeah. And more than likely Minecraft Legends will hit that same type of or similar numbers as time moves on, type of thing. But just looking at some of these games, one standout that's a single player game, and Bethesda's working on something in the background. Actually, 2 of them being single player, but Bethesda's working on the multiplayer aspect for Starfield. So we'll see what that reaches, and I can
There's
only
also a rumor Mandalorian might be in development as an exclusive, and that's going to be a games as a service MMO. I mean.
Yeah, if it's using the engine that Starfield was built on, that is going to be a time sink, and people are going to be no life in that game for the next 20 years. But it's great to see that the variety of games. Like, people used to clown Sea of Thieves when it first launched. Oh, it doesn't have content. Oh, it doesn't do this. Oh, look at the graphics. Well, and it's doing better than a lot of games from a whole first party combined kind of thing. So it's great to see Xbox sticks with it. They keep on reinvesting and supporting these games. As someone mentioned earlier with a super chat, as far as like Gran Turismo shutting down, yet you could still play all of the Forzas all the way from Forza 1 all the way up. Still, now you may not be able to do the big race online, but the single player aspect is still playable. The some of the Drivatar stuff is still in game, because it's basically it's not feeding the AI from the cloud anymore. It's just based on your friends list and the internal specs or data that it had from previous on that game on your game save. So the big thing now is Sony's got to figure out how to support a game more in a couple of years. With Gran Turismo Sport being shut down now, this was a game I think that came out in 2017, but yet Motorsport, even though it's delisted because of licensing, you could still play online. So I don't know. Sony's got to figure out things here if they're going to go this all in on games as a service, on how they can have a game survive more than 5 years. Or with Drive Club, I don't even think it lasted 5 years as far as its online component. But it's great to see a lot of these games doing well, and they'll continue to do well. Like, I would have to believe, in all honesty, because Horizon 3 was probably more popular than 4. It probably has a fairly large number, maybe not as close to the 30 mil, but it's probably up there as well. Same thing when it came to Horizon 4, even though not as popular as 3, and now I would say probably not as popular as 5, still had a decent chunk of people playing that game as well. So good on Xbox and all their studios, and man, I can only imagine what it's going to look like, next year when they have Call of Duty under that umbrella. You have Diablo
Just
under that
crazy.
umbrella, Overwatch under that umbrella, WoW under that umbrella. They'll be able to say something similar to like, yeah, we got like 5 billion people
Diablo
playing our
4
games.
PS, by the way, on top of that. I mean, just
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous.
They'll be like, yeah, last year 5 billion people played our games, and they won't be able to. There won't be anybody to refute that because looking at all the IPs where people continuously log in either daily or at least weekly to play these games. So great to see. Looking forward to more of them. Like I said, I'm hoping there is a Starfield multiplayer version here soon because as fun as it is single player, I can only imagine what it's going to be like as far as multiplayer.
Could you
And then-
imagine
and
ship
good-
battles in there, bro? Like that. See, that's what I mean. Listen, as great as it's going to be for us shooting up each other and raiding each other's bases and stealing each other's loot, that would be amazing. But the ship building aspect, could you imagine what the ship battles could look like? It would logistically be Xbox's version of Star Wars
Well,
in a
there's-
game.
Yeah, well, there's EVE Online and there's Star Citizen. I think EVE
Yes.
Online is still famous for having like the multi-million-dollar ship battle where people lost like millions of dollars in having like their fleet obliterated. Hopefully, it won't cost anything anywhere near like
No,
that.
hopefully
as far as-
there's no actual real cost, real life cost.
but I can only imagine like having 1 million people online at the same time, just one side versus the other, just blowing each other up. Yeah, that's definitely in the near future here. And man, motorsport right around the corner. Looking forward to that. It's a win-win all around. And like Gerald Mack said, it's going to be hard for Sony to crack that nut, but hopefully they do with this new leadership. But man, so proud and happy and satisfied with what Xbox is offering and enjoying every one of those games. Man, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's I put it this way, it's only rainbows and unicorns for Xbox moving forward. And again, I'm no one suggesting that Sony's going to wither and die. They're not. They're going to be around. They're going to have great first party games, but they're in a bit of a pickle. I'll say that right now. You can say whether this is console rhetoric or not. I think what we're doing is it's actual facts. What is happening? We are seeing. Not the demise, the step back, if you will, of the market leader, and that's because they were very traditional. Their current leadership, which of course is being run out of Japan, is very traditional. I don't know if we're going to see a return to old PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 type of way doing of business, but if they don't follow what the others are doing, and like I said, Nintendo, they're walking to their own drum. They're doing their own thing, and they're winning. They're winning NPDs. They have a new console coming out next year. They have a game of the year that launched at the beginning of the year with the new Zelda, and of course, Mario Wonder is a couple of weeks away. That could be a game of the year contender. Nintendo does not compete with anybody. They just do their own thing. Sony, on the other hand, who has been the market leader, has gotten complacent. Sorry, that's a freaking fact. They thought that we're going to sell you a box. We're going to sell you the boxed games. We're going to give you a so-so online experience, and we're going to give you and we're going to make you pay for things that you shouldn't have to pay for, like your cloud saves and like your upgrades for graphics, like where everyone else is giving it for free. They're in a bit of a pickle. So we will see what the direction of Sony is going to be much sooner than later, because they have to let investors know. I put it this way: they had no confidence in current leadership, and you might even see a change in regards to Herman Holtz's position as well. We don't know if he's safe, but you just never know. Let me read these last couple of super chats, and I will read all 10 winners, and we will make sure you guys and gals get your prizes. We have Justin Russell. Oh, yeah, that's right. I read that his PlayStation is shutting down Gran Turismo Online. King Webb drops a very generous, and we didn't even talk about this, Game Pass in Meta in December, and NVIDIA's had a raid in France. Wow. Yeah, there is so much gaming news. It's bonkers. NC Ghost of Low Road drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Happy Born Day, Boom, brother." Thank you so much for that. He says, "We hope you have many, many more from me and the kids. Blessings to you and the chat. All of you have a great day, brother." Thank you so much for the blessings. And of course, I return that right to you and the kids as well. Thank you for the kind words. And again, folks, here are the 10 winners of the 6th annual Boom's Birthday Bash. Whole grain bread, D. Diaz, Lethal Popper, #1 modder in the world, Sith Lord, Big Mad Mo, you from the other side of the pond, Saint Reborn 311, Ozzy Fan 80, Sanchez Gaming, and Gummy Hernandez. You have all won a $50 digital gift card of your choice to what platform you want to play on. I already know where Sith Lord wants his. And of course, I will reach out to Whole Grain Bread via Xbox Live. But listen, thank you so much. All of these super chats, all of the amazing 130 channel members that we have allow for Mrs. Boom and I to do these big giveaways. We can't do it without you because I'm retired. So I have, my pension is great, but it has a ceiling. And we take all of these super chats, we take all of these channel memberships, and we tuck them away. And we do have another 2 contests that are coming up, or giveaways, one of which is going to be the first week of November, which last year we added Mrs. Boom's Birthday Bash. That's another $500 giveaway. Same as today. We'll run the picker through StreamYards, and we'll give the winners their winnings. But in December, and this is the most money that we have ever given out as a channel. Last year we gave away $1,000 in 2 hours. We are upping the ante this year, and we are giving away $1,500 in 2 hours. And that is not sponsored by anyone. That is by the people, for the people. We take the super chats, we put them away, and we're doing a big $1,500 giveaway towards the end of December for the holiday. And of course, whether you celebrate Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or Christmas or any holiday, we're going to wrap it into one giveaway, and then giving away $1,500 worth of prizes. And we will break down what those denominational prizes will be as we get closer to that. Let's get to the outro. Silent Cypher, sell the brand of the Xbox International Podcast. Where can people find your YouTube channel? And more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
All right. Well, Boom, thank you so much again for having me. It was great talking, and happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
The 6th annual birthday bash was pretty rad. Looks like we had almost 600 people in the chat, which
we had over 600 people.
Over 600?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Over 600. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to see a bunch of familiar faces hanging out and celebrating. Great way to start the weekend, right? But as far as where you can find me on Xbox, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, all over the place as Silent Cypher. You can find my YouTube channel. I'll throw a link into the chat, but I think it should be under Silent Cypher, or it might be Blue Dude. Don't ask. But I'll drop the link in there. I've started doing some more content on there, and I'm hoping to kind of expand into that more as time goes on. But of course, you can find me on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my brothers Plume, Crazy Louie, and Sour Blow on the Xbox International channel. We chop it up a little bit, throw Crazy into jail whenever he makes bad takes online, and it's always a good time. We got a hashtag.
Did anyone know he actually was in jail? Like literally before one of my shows, the Xbox lunch break special, he was brought in because of a gun license situation. Thankfully, they let him out. And he was there.
Yeah, and he almost got nailed for having, I think it was like a machete or a katana or something in his trunk.
Jesus,
the dude is unique. He's different than many of the cats that you run into.
It's crazy.
Little gaming.
It's crazy. He lives up to the name every day. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. And yeah, thanks again, Boom. Look forward to hopefully being with you again here in about 2 weeks.
Yes. You all. Whenever you have a Friday off, brother, you're always welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Web Dave, sell your brand, brother. You got a big show coming up this Sunday. You also are potentially going to be bringing back the one-on-one interviews that you're known and loved for. Sell the brand of the Sunday podcast with Retri from Game Pass _ Daily, and more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Thanks for having me, Boom. Sorry I had to do some work last minute.
Life is life, brother. Don't sweat it.
It is. When the boss is like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, damn it." So, I knew I was in trouble. But, we got it done. Everything's good. And it was great to be here. Sorry for being off camera. I look a little rough today. I need to shave. But anyway, I put the link in the description for my YouTube channel. And, of course, this Sunday show is going to be really big. Is going to have Post Up and also Mav from Fun Speculation.
Excellent.
And we're going to get into the topics and get down and dirty and nitty gritty. So definitely come hang out with us, be in the chat, have some fun. Who knows? We may pull you into the show if you're there. Also, and yes, starting next Monday, we do have the return of our one-on-ones. But I'll leave that one for Monday's discussion as to what it's going to be. And there you go. So, guys, thank you so much for having me. What an amazing panel. What an amazing audience. The chat is on fire with Hargeeds and Keasante and just so many others. C-Money and Doodle. Just amazing people in this community. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Boom. Happy birthday once again, buddy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for the V-Day wishes. Thank you for being here as always. Crispy Bomb, let's sell your brand, brother. Where are people find you, not only on this show, but somewhere else with, I don't know, a crazy group known as Wilmy Hood and the Gang? And more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, I just want to say I want to thank everybody that reached out. I lost my uncle on Tuesday.
Dude, I'm so sorry, brother. Damn.
And it's rough because we don't know actually what transpired. I will say that, I want everybody to know that he is in a better place. And I'm here because I need to be able to talk to everybody and have a good conversation. And if you're looking for, to follow me or whatever, it's at Crispy Bomb on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Crispy Bomb on Xbox Live. I've been playing a lot of games that I'm used to, like Starfield is one of a kind, and I was always looking for interaction, especially at this point. And generally you'd find me on Gaming Beyond the Box. I don't know. Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs Jets. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna be there because I'm one
I
of
don't
those
think so.
people,
And when you take the week off and you enjoy the Chiefs, they're gonna just trounce the Jets. I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, and I'm interested. Like, I think the internet's gonna break if Swifty shows up, so it'll be pretty funny. Because like me, I'm like, I just love my football team, and I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, and of course you can find me back here, man. Like, we always have great conversations. It's good to see Dread. It's been a minute, you know what I mean? Like, hopefully work's not killing you, brother. And Web Dave and Cypher and Fuzzy, of course, man. It's always fun, and happy birthday, Boom. I mean, it's not belated because I said it that day, but
yes, you did.
Happy birthday, and thank you for always being like a true patriot for the community, and always being here, and saying what you mean and loving what you say, and also just not being apologetic, and giving back, because I mean $1,500. Think about that
during the holidays. Well, you know what? The theory behind the large amount is Mrs. Boomstick and I are blessed beyond words, and we do these big giveaways because you just never know that you do. Let's say, for instance, you give away $100 gift card, and someone who's hurt and wants to buy something for their family, that $100 becomes like $1,000. And the ideology behind what we do is to allow for someone who may not be as blessed as us to give something to someone. Could you imagine if you are trying to get a gift for your son or your daughter, and it's just things the world sucks right now. It does. It sucks financially for a lot of people, and you win one of those prizes. That's $100 that you can buy whatever for your son or daughter, and that may make their Christmas, but it also may make your Christmas. So that's the whole point of it. Where we're going to give away, I think we're going to do the $100 gift cards. We're going to give away 10, and I think we're going to do 2 grand prizes at $250 each for the 1,500. So obviously it's easier for us because it's only 12 winners as opposed to trying to do 50 for everyone. So I think that's what we're going to wind up doing. But again, that's where it stems from. We're blessed, so we want to kind of, and then we're not just blessed. We're not millionaires, folks. We're blue collar when I tell you, but we're in a position where we want to give back, and that's where the additional $500 came from, because Mrs. Boom was adamant on doing $1,000, and she's like, what could we do 1,500 this year, Craig? And I said, yeah, we absolutely could, and that's on her thoughts, and that she comes up with a lot of this stuff. But thank you so much for that, Crispy.
Much love, brother. Salute.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Let's Dreadpool. I'm gonna bring you in because obviously you have your stuff raring to go, and here it is, folks. You can find Dreadpool at linktree.com/Dreadpool, youtube.com/Dreadpool, Twitter at Dreadpool, TikTok at Dreadpool, hover.gg/Dreadpool. You can find him here each and every Friday on Breakfast with Boom, but you can also find him over with that crazy gang at Gaming Beyond the Box, which of course is run by Wilmy Hood, on Sundays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about it.
Yes. Again, as always, thank you to each and every one of you in the chat for coming here. Everybody in the panel, I love you guys just as much as well. And we gotta sing that song for Boom. His birthday song. How's it go? Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye, Jim Ryan. So I'm just kidding. No, but at least we know that Boom did blow out his candle and he got his birthday wish. Jim Ryan is gone, so PlayStation will get better. And that's what we want. We want competition. We want the best for everything. And again, so thank you all for being here. I am on the road to 2K, and I can't believe it. It's all, what was it? Just February, I hit 1K and got, and within the year, I'm already doubling. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've been, hard at work. And this month, I'm going to be kind of scarce because we got.
It's your
Halloween.
Yeah, it's the Halloween month. Yeah, we know
tonight's
that.
our first night at the new house.
Nice.
And same location. It's just the new house that we designed, and it's actually thanks to Death Dealer. That's my wife, for those that you don't know, but she and Mom, which is Mother of All Mayhem, have been working hard at work for the past few weeks, doing that while I'm hard at work. And so I gotta send out a special thanks to them for taking care of the house without me. And I don't know my character. I don't know my position. I don't know anything. All I know is I'm a victim this time. So we'll find out how dead I will be.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
again, thank you all. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Again, happy birthday, Boom. I'm glad you got your birthday wish. But
thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it. Well, enjoy your weekend, brother. Get some rest. Please get some rest, because obviously
that's the plan.
You're redlining yourself, and you don't want to get sick for sure. And last and no way least, Fuzzy Belvedere. Listen, man, we got to get not only get you to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, because we're coming up on Forza Motorsport releasing. I am very fortunate. All I can say is that I am reviewing it. There will be a review up on the 5th of the month when the embargoes lift. Thank you to Jeff Rubenstein and, of course, Turn 10 Studios for providing Double Barrel Gaming with a review code of Forza. Folks, I don't know shit about Forza, but this man, Fuzzy Belvedere, does. He is the premier man that you want to talk about racing. Sell your brand, Fuzzy. Where could people not only tune in and subscribe to your YouTube channel, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Well, once again, thank you for having me on. It was awesome being on here with everyone. And thanks to everyone in the chat for interacting with us and having a good time. And happy birthday, Boom.
Thank you, sir.
Always a great time. As far as all this news as of late, hopefully Xbox gave you all the presents for this month. But have a wonderful week and weekend this birthday week. But
Yeah, I'm actually hanging out with my sister-in-law is coming over to stay over with my nephew Tyler, so we're gonna be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. I cannot wait.
nice. But man, for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. With Forza coming out pretty much in like 6 or 7 days, keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. Just search Fuzzy Belvedere, all one word, all together. You'll be able to come across my channel. You can also find me on Xbox Ultimate later on tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculations channel. And then tomorrow on PTK Blam's channel for the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here on Double Barrel Gaming for Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon on Monday. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks again.
Yes. Thank you so much. And again, real quick before we get out of here, I'm just going to read it one more time. Whole Grain Bread, D. Diaz, Lethal Papa, Sith Lord, Big Mad Mo, you, Saint Reborn 31, Ozzy Fan 80, Sanchez Gaming, and Gummy Hernandez. You have all won a $50 gift card to your platform of choice. DM me, email me. You can find my email in the on my YouTube channel in the About page, and you can also message me over Xbox Live. Either way, we will get you your code one way or another. Folks, thank you so much for being here. A big shout out to all of the amazing birthday wishes, all the outstanding super chats, and of course, all the channel member messages. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care. Enjoy your weekend. Play on whatever console you enjoy playing on. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.